the broken engine. It was just another ordinary day for Joe, an elderly mechanic with decades of experience in fixing cars. His garage, nestled at the edge of a small town, was filled with the faint scent of oil and rust. Joe loved his job, though his body had begun to feel the weight of his years. His hands, once steady and strong, were now a little slower, but his expertise was unmatched. He'd always loved working with his hands, bringing life back to machines that others thought were beyond repair. One chilly morning, a sleek, dark blue car pulled up to Joe's shop. It was a brand new model, the kind of car you only saw in glossy magazines or on the streets of a big city. The engine purred as it stopped, and the driver, a man with a quiet presence and a soft-spoken demeanor, stepped out. Joe was taken aback by the man's resemblance to Keanu Reeves, though he couldn't be sure. After all, Joe wasn't one to follow celebrities, but something about the man seemed familiar. "Excuse me, sir, but I need to get this car fixed," the man said with a calm, almost humble tone. Joe nodded, motioning for him to park in the shop's garage. "No problem, son. I'll take a look." The car had trouble starting, and the engine made a strange clunking sound. Joe got to work, diagnosing the issue with expert precision. It wasn't anything Joe hadn't seen before, a minor engine problem, a few parts that needed replacing. The next day, Joe finished the repairs and gave the car a test drive. It ran smoothly now, the engine purring like a kitten. He called the man to let him know it was ready for pickup. "Thank you, Joe," the man said over the phone, his voice still calm and kind. "I'll be by to pick it up in the afternoon." A familiar face. A week passed. Joe continued his daily routine, fixing cars, sharing a laugh with his regulars, and tending to his beloved garage. One afternoon, as he wiped his hands on a rag, the sound of a familiar engine pulling up echoed through the lot. Joe looked up to see the same dark blue car, now shining in the sunlight, pulling into his shop. This time, the man stepped out of the car. Joe's jaw nearly dropped when he recognized him. It was Keanu Reeves, the famous actor. But it wasn't just his face that was striking. It was his humility. Keanu looked just as unassuming as the day he had brought the car in. Keanu smiled as he approached Joe. "Thank you again for fixing the car. I've had a lot of trouble with it before, and it's been great to have it running like new again." Joe smiled back, still a little stunned. "I'm glad I could help. But you didn't have to come all the way back here just to say thanks." Keanu paused for a moment, looking around at the small, humble garage. "I believe in gratitude. People don't forget." Keanu nodded, his face thoughtful. "I can relate to that. People think fame is everything, but it's the little things, the things that connect us to others, that really matter. I think that's why I find myself drawn to people like you. The ones who keep going, even when no one's watching." Joe smiled, touched by Keanu's words. They stood in silence for a moment, two men from different worlds who shared a quiet understanding. It was rare to find someone so grounded, so real, despite the glittering fame that surrounded them. A lesson in kindness. Keanu had become a regular visitor to Joe's garage. He would stop by occasionally, never too busy to chat with Joe or lend a hand with some of the more difficult repairs. Joe was always amazed by how down-to-earth Keanu was, how different he was from the media portrayals he had seen. The more time they spent together, the more Joe realized that Keanu was just like any other person. He had his struggles, his desires, and his moments of self-doubt. One day, as they were working on a particularly tricky engine repair, Keanu said something that stayed with Joe long after he had left. "Joe, sometimes I feel like people expect me to be something I'm not. They think fame defines me, but it doesn't. It's what we do when no one's looking that matters most. And I think the world needs more people who understand that." Joe nodded. "You're right, son. It's easy to get lost in the spotlight. But the real value is in the quiet moments, the ones where you're just being yourself, helping others, the ripple effect." Joe decided to take Keanu's gesture and pay it forward. Inspired by the donation, he began reaching out to others in his community who were struggling, fellow mechanics who had been hit hard by the changing economy, single parents trying to make ends meet, and even local students in need of mentorship. Joe had always lived a simple life, but now he saw that even small acts of kindness could have a profound impact. He started a local community outreach program, offering free repairs for people in need and helping out wherever he could. People from all walks of life came to him for help, not just for their cars, but for advice, for a kind word, and for the sense of hope that Joe now felt in his heart. Keanu's influence had seeped into Joe's life in a way he never imagined. Joe was no longer just a mechanic. He was a mentor, a friend, and a pillar of support in his community. He realized that no matter where you came from or how small your work seemed, it could have an extraordinary impact on the world. And as the community flourished, so did Joe's understanding of the power of kindness. It was a ripple effect, one small act of generosity, the ripple effect. Joe decided to take Keanu's gesture and pay it forward. Inspired by the donation, he began reaching out to others in his community who were struggling, fellow mechanics who had been hit hard by the changing economy, single parents trying to make ends meet, and even local students in need of mentorship. Joe had always lived a simple life, but now he saw that even small acts of kindness could have a profound impact. He started a local community outreach program, offering free repairs for people in need and helping out wherever he could. People from all walks of life came to him for help, not just for their cars, but for advice, for a kind word, and for the sense of hope that Joe now felt in his heart. Keanu's influence had seeped into Joe's life in a way he never imagined. Joe was no longer just a mechanic. He was a mentor, a friend, and a pillar of support in his community. He realized that no matter where you came from or how small your work seemed, it could have an extraordinary impact on the world. And as the community flourished, so did Joe's understanding of the power of kindness. It was a ripple effect, one small act of generosity leading to countless others. It wasn't about fame, the legacy of kindness. As years passed, Joe's garage became more than just a place to fix cars. It became a community center, a place where people could share stories, offer support, and grow together. Joe's name became synonymous with generosity, not because he sought attention, but because his heart was always open to those in need. One afternoon, as Joe was sitting outside his shop, a familiar car pulled into the lot. Keanu stepped out, smiling warmly. It had been a while since they had seen each other, but the bond they had formed had never wavered. "I see the garage is thriving," Keanu said, looking around at the lively scene. Joe chuckled. "Yeah, it's a bit more than just a garage these days. I guess I've learned that there's more to life than just working on engines." Keanu nodded. "You've done something amazing here, Joe. This isn't just about cars. It's about people, about connection, and about giving something back." Joe smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. "You taught me that, Keanu. Your kindness changed my life, and now I'm trying to do the same for others." Keanu placed a hand on Joe's shoulder. "You're doing more than enough, my friend. This is your legacy now." And as the sun set on the small town, Joe realized that his life had become a reflection of the simple, powerful lessons he had learned from Keanu: kindness, humility, and the importance of being there for others when they needed it most. It was a legacy that would continue for generations to come, a story of how